I have a homeschool curriculum review flip through for you guys today, kind of piggybacking off one that I did a few months ago for a history curriculum that we used with my oldest for U.S. history. I showed you a flip through of the Critical Thinking Company's U.S. History Detective series. There's actually 2 books in that series. Well, we loved that one so much that I wanted to pick up the world history book, not for my oldest. She's already kind of done that and actually already doing college classes now, even though she's still technically in high school. But I really loved how the U.S. History Detective was set up and everything and how well that it worked, that I wanted to go ahead and pick this one up for my youngest. I don't know yet if I'm going to use it in middle school or high school, but because we loved U.S. History Detective so much, and I've actually got a few questions about it over the, since I made that video, that I thought I would show you guys a look inside the world history book and kind of how it is similar and how it's different from U.S. History Detective and how you may want to use it in your homeschool for history. So if you want to see a flip through and my thoughts and review on the world history book, then stay tuned. Okay, so this is the World History Detective book. Unlike the U.S. History Detective, there are 2 books in that series. There is only 1 book in this series. The World History Detective book is $34.99. Like I said, there's only 1 book, and it is suggested for grades 6 through 12, where the U.S. History Detective is listed for grades 8 through 12. With both books, I will say that your child really should have a pretty good grasp on reading and definitely their comprehension skills. My oldest daughter has completed U.S. History Detective, and I have a full flip through of that curriculum that I'll link for you. I loved it so much that I purchased new copies of that for my youngest, and I also added the World History Detective for use in the future. Both of the books are what I would consider a brief and broad scope of history. The lessons are short, and that enables you to really complete more history during the year, or use it as a catalyst to guide you through and kind of camp out in certain sections and certain time periods or locations. A lot of other history programs are really time consuming, and so you feel like that you don't have time to really stop. And if your child is really interested in a certain person or a certain time period or a certain battle, you may not feel like you have time to really look into those and delve into those things. And with this and the U.S. History Detective both, I feel like that you definitely have time for that. But especially with world history, because there are 74 lessons in this book, so you definitely have time to linger on certain times and places and events that you want. You can add documentaries, you can add related chapter books, and you can make it a full year curriculum, or because there are only 74 lessons, you can just do it a couple days a week and stretch this book out to last you for the entire school year. Like I mentioned in the beginning, your child really should have a fairly strong skill with reading comprehension, but the way that this curriculum is set up, it actually really does help encourage and promote strong reading comprehension skills. So after they read the lesson, they will have a series of questions. So like this example, lesson 36, they're reading about the spread of Christianity and Roman values in barbarian Europe. This is the lesson that they're reading. There's maps scattered throughout. And then you have questions on the back for every single lesson. You have a written response question for every single lesson in the book. And one thing you'll notice as you're reading through the lesson, every single sentence has a number next to it. And these numbers are actually what your child is going to write. So when they answer this question, they're not only going to answer the question, they're going to tell you which sentences in this reading back up that answer. So they're really having to think about what they read. They're having to go back sometimes in some cases and read it again. So not only are they learning strong comprehension skills, but they're also having to reread some of the passages a couple times to find the answer. So I really love how that's set up, and I think there's huge value in that. I also really appreciate the written response question at the end of every lesson, because I think writing is so important, and I like that they include it in history, because especially as your child gets older, they're going to have to write more and more, especially when they get into high school and college. A lot of essays are required to complete a lot of high school and college assignments. So the fact that they are doing written response questions in every single lesson is amazing. I also like these little webs that they have to complete. There are a lot of them scattered throughout the book. You've got maps that they're referring to. So tons of different questions and ways that you're working with the material and finding out if they actually learned anything when they read it. and what they remembered. So I think the way that the assignments are set up after every lesson is very valuable. One thing that I noticed that was different between the U.S. History Detective and World History is the U.S. History Detective books are full color. So the maps, the pictures, you know, a lot of the things in that book are full color. World History is all black and white. So if you have a child that is distracted by color, you probably will appreciate that. But if you really like a lot of color maps and a lot of color images, then, you know, it is black and white. So you just have to decide, is that a deal breaker for you? For me, it's not a deal breaker. I do like full color, but I don't mind if it's in black and white. Another main difference between U.S. History Detective and World History is there are no tests or reviews in the World History book. U.S. History Detective books, there are reviews scattered throughout the book. So that made it really nice to have grading, more grading opportunities. But it's definitely not a huge deal. I do wish they were in this, but again, it's not a huge deal. You can definitely make your own tests, or you can get your grades from, you know, the questions and answers and the writing responses that they do at the end of each lesson. So it's not a huge thing, but just something I wanted to bring up. And of course, there is an answer key in the back. I said in the other video, I was like, that sounds self-explanatory, there would be an answer key, but I actually have had curriculum in the past that I purchased that did not have an answer key, and I sent that right back because I do not want to have to be figuring out the answers to every single problem. I need an answer key, and so there is one provided in this. So in the ancient civilizations, you have the Fertile Crescent, Babylonian Empire, the Phoenicians, and I don't know how to pronounce that word, religious history, ancient Hebrews, the Persians, ancient Greece, the Persian Wars, Macedonians, Roman military, daily life of the Roman Empire, Christianity, the fall of Western Roman Europe, and ancient Celts. And then you go into medieval civilizations, so you're talking about barbarian Europe, medieval Russia, feudalism, the age of faith, medieval art and education, the Crusades, the beginning of Islam, geography of Asia, you're talking about China, medieval Japan, and some other Asian countries, geography of Africa, and then you go into early American civilization. So the first Americans, the Aztecs, the Incas, northern to northeast tribes, the northwestern coastal and subarctic and Arctic tribes. So you're hitting all of that ancient and medieval history in only 74 lessons, and so like I said, you can definitely beef this up as much as you want or leave it exactly as is. I think this would also be really great for a high school student that is kind of running out of time to complete their history curriculum before they graduate. I think this is a great resource for that. That's kind of how we use the U.S. History Detective with my oldest daughter. She was in high school, well, she still is, but in high school she had to have a U.S. history course, and we had just run out of time, honestly, because she was taking college classes, and I really wanted to make sure we didn't obviously skip that. So those two books in that series were an amazing resource because the lessons are brief but really thorough. And I feel like she has a really good grasp of U.S. history without having to spend, you know, years and years and years to study it. So that is the World History Detective kind of at a glance, in a nutshell, how it works, how it's different from the U.S. History Detective, and how you may fit it into your homeschool. I think both of these, the U.S. History and the World History, are amazing resources. They're super affordable and they're so versatile. So I really thought you guys would enjoy hearing about this one, because I know when I found the U.S. History Detective, I had never, in all of my research in the last 8 years of homeschooling, I had never seen that resource before. And then when I found that one, I found this one. So I thought I would share it with you guys. Hope it was helpful. If it was, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I will link the U.S. History Detective and the World History Detective down in the description box for you, as well as my homeschooling playlist. So make sure you check that out. There's like over 200 homeschooling videos in that playlist that I think you'll find helpful. So make sure you check that out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.